Are you listening? Damn.
And a big welcome back to the Endurance Hour Podcast, episode 366. Back alongside Kona coach Wendy Mader. I'm Dave Erickson. So glad to have you with us this week. And we've got some great questions, great topics, and a couple of discount codes to share with you. We begin with questions from inside the T2 Endurance group on Facebook from Andres. Says, good day. Question for the group. What are the signs of overtraining and needing an additional day off to recover? My first impression is you are just dragging your ass. You are tired as heck, and you just know you need some time off. What's the real answer, Coach?
Well, first of all, I think if you're questioning whether you need a day off, then you definitely need a day off. Yeah. So you don't even have to ask your coach or ask your friends or family. If you're feeling like you need a day off, take a day off. It's only going to probably provide the rest that you need, and it will maybe limit the impact if you feel like you are overtraining. So for someone who probably has overtrained before, like I say probably because back in the early days in the 90s when I started, overtraining like wasn't really a thing that you talked about. And I'm pretty sure after my very first Ironman in 1997, I didn't take a break because I came back to Colorado and I just started biking again because all my friends were biking in the fall, getting ready for the Colorado State University cycling team, which was kind of a fall, winter, spring type of training in their sport. And so I just started riding again, but my body and mind didn't want to. My muscles were sore for months after Ironman. And I got to the point where about 2 months after that, I was really chronically sick. Like I felt like I had chronic fatigue syndrome. I had no energy. My resting heart rate from sitting was like 70, and I'd stand up and when it would go to 140. So again, number one, that's definitely an indicator that I was overtrained. And again, back in 1997, that just wasn't a term that you knew about or you thought about. But I know it definitely happened to me because I was sick for about 6 months after that. I couldn't train at all. I could barely walk around the block. I just had absolutely no energy. So to really answer your question, if you need a break, take it. But typical signs are chronically sore muscles. Maybe you're sick and it just won't go away, and you just keep getting one infection after another because your immune system's low and your body just needs a break. Or maybe you're someone who gets injuries a lot and you just keep getting one injury after another because you're not allowing your body to have a break. Other signs and symptoms include decreased appetite, where like your training volume's really high, but you just have no interest in maybe food, your appetite's low, so you're not giving your body the nutrients it needs to help recover. And also like irritability, maybe depression, kind of things like that. So there's definitely a multitude of signs and symptoms.
Here's something I found, real easy bullet points, lifestyle-related signs of overtraining. So prolonged general fatigue, increase in tension, depression, anger, or confusion. Think about that during the day. Are you more irritable? Inability to relax. Poor quality sleep is an obvious one. The lack of energy, decreased motivation, moodiness. And I like this one right here, not feeling joy from things that were once enjoyable. So if you're overtraining, you're taking away from your everyday lifestyle. And this should be a complement to your lifestyle, I think.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah.
And back, my little story that I told is I knew I was forcing myself to ride, and then I had just no energy, no speed, no power. It didn't have a power meter, but I just had nothing. I was depleted, but yet I was forcing myself to do it. And then I got on this binge of eating just the most non-nutrient dense foods, and I put on a lot of weight, and that made me more irritable. And so I learned a lot. It was a great experience. In the end, even though it did lead to a little bit of depression, in the end, it was a great experience. And it was really one of the reasons I became a coach, because I started doing a lot more research in how to train and recover. And I just, had all this knowledge that I started helping people overcome some issues that I struggled with overcoming. And that kind of led into my coaching because I was overtrained.
Great question. Thank you so much. And I hope some of those things helped you guys out with just if you took one nugget of that away from there, then good. Katie writes, my goggles broke in the middle of an open water swim the other day. I have no experience with this. What do you do in a race when this happens? And it has happened to me. Wendy, do you have an answer?
If something like that happened to me, I've had goggles and my cap knocked off. I've never lost my goggles if they've knocked off. I just put them back on. They've never broken in an open water swim. And I followed up with Katie and asked how they broke. And I think I recall it was just the strap that broke. In a race setting, I wouldn't stop. I mean, I would just keep going. I know how to swim with eyes closed. I know how to sight. That kind of keeps me on track if I'm swimming with eyes closed, because I've swam without goggles in the pool before. So I recommend anyone out there that just wants to get experience swimming without goggles in a race setting it starts in the pool. Do it in training so you're more prepared and experienced to know what that's going to feel like. The chlorine feels different than lake water. But like I said, it almost helps someone, in my opinion, sight more frequently and more often than they normally would, because every time they sight, they're going to open their eyes and see where they're going, as well as just do it more frequently because they're not opening their eyes in the water.
Yeah, I know how, putting your eyes underwater in chlorine can be a little bit challenging, might sting, but try it in salt water. My only experience, and it was horrible, it was at Honu, 70.3 in Hawaii, and it was a 2-lap swim. It was a half, but it was a 2-lap swim. And somehow, coming in for the first lap with some of the waves, I think I tumbled or I rolled somehow. Didn't realize it. My goggles were off. I think I realized that after I got out of the water. I would have known it beforehand, but maybe when I was coming up out of the water, I took them off to look, and then they were gone. And I had to do the second lap without goggles, and it was the worst because it stung in that salt water. It was the worst. My eyes were bloodshot, and the rest of the race was just not as enjoyable as it could have been. I don't know what to say with that one. That one's when you just grin and bear it. There are no options. You have a long day still to go, so you just go with it and just force your way through. Once you get out of the water, just get some clean water as much as possible and just wash your eyes, flush them out as much as possible. But that's my only experience.
Yeah, and something that she could do is practice swimming without goggles in the open water swims that she's doing in her training. That's an option. I also, one of my first half Ironmans, it was my second one actually. The water was so cold that I swam pretty much with my head out of the water for 1.2 miles. Ooh. So again, swimming with your head out of the water is also an option if you don't want to put your face in the water. What if, maybe you're someone whose goggles fell off and you're wearing contacts, that you don't want to risk losing your contacts because you need them for the remainder of the race. So I actually have a specific drill called head out of the water drill, but you can swim with your head out of the water, maybe do breaststroke. Breaststroke's a stroke that I like to use to teach someone some skills of breathing. Mm-hmm. And so that allows you to be able to sight and just at least make forward progress, as well as, going on your back every now and then to allow your eyes to be open if you don't want to open them under the water, which I wouldn't. If I was in open water, I wouldn't want to open my eyes. So there's a few options. I think you just have to think about it and plan ahead and just experience it so you know how you're going to handle it in your mind of what's going to happen.
On that note, a little break here with a discount code based on a piece of equipment I just received. In February, I was contacted by a company I'd never heard of before called Sumarpo, Sumarpo. And they produce wetsuits. They have tri-kits. They also have compression, some just regular accessories in terms of goggles or sunglasses and the like. But swimsuits or wetsuits are the big thing. And they claim to be the world's first 100% eco-friendly triathlon wetsuit provider. Their goal, of course, they say here, they've done their best to guarantee top performance as well as the highest quality fabrics to offer you the fastest and most flexible triathlon wetsuits on the planet. And they got 4 of them for men and women. And so I looked at this and go, okay, well, this is early on in the tri season. I go, well, I'll try it because always good to have an extra wetsuit. And mine were kind of tight begin the year, and so I got their Victory one. This is like their high level, maximum buoyancy, great insulation, and so on. So I got a large, and I tried it out. Just got it last week or 2 weeks ago. So I finally had a chance to go and try it I tried it in the pool at the YMCA, and I was pleasantly surprised on how comfortable it was and flexible it was in my shoulders and my chest, which was my issue of breathing in recent triathlons. And so I'm very happy with it. But a couple downsides to this one, and I don't know why. The wrists were really tight. I had taken my watch off to put it on. That's how tight the wrists were, even though it was the perfect size everywhere else. And they say that's because they make sure that there's no leakage at all in either direction. So I got it on, but that was one of my issues with it. Second one was the water got into the neck, but someone else helped me put it on. So I think that might be they didn't put it tight enough. Other than that, it was a pretty decent wetsuit. And I wanted to share with you a discount code. If you're interested, that's not like I get a lot out of this or anything, because it's got a free wetsuit and I got to try it, and I gave them a video review of it on the YouTube channel on Endurance Hour. But if you put Dave15, you can get 15% off anything on their website. Dave15 on sumarpo.com. That's all I want to say about it. You can see my video demonstration on it on our YouTube channel right now, but that's it. That's all I want to say. Have you been approached by, besides Blue 70, what other wetsuits have you used? Any branded wetsuits?
In my whole life of competing, I've used Aquasphere, Xterra. Xterra was a wetsuit that I borrowed. Aquasphere was one that we were sponsored when I was on Team Timex one year. And Blue 70 has been my choice even before I partnered with them. Blue 70 was always my choice. I just like the fit, the comfort, the ease of getting it on and off. The sizing seems to work for me. And so that's just something I've always worn for years and years.
I've had great experience with my Blue 72, and I still have it. In fact, I bought a used Blue 70 size large, which is the same as this new wetsuit I have, size large, but I haven't tried it on yet. And I got that one a couple weeks before this one arrived. So I paid a friend of mine for a used one just so I could have a size large for some of the races. So now I have a couple things to work with, and I've always loved the Blue 70. I love the way it looks. I love their color schemes. I use their goggles exclusively. So anyhow, don't you? What kind of discounts do we have in the newsletter when it comes to swim stuff?
30% off on Blue 70 on Blue 70 apparel, wetsuits, goggles.
Okay.
40% off if no one's ever bought from them before. They can get their first purchase for 40% off,
So
and then future purchases for 30%.
So that's inside the newsletter. So sign up for our newsletter by going to endurancehour.com. You'll see it's obvious and how you can sign up. And then you'll get these discounts on a weekly basis of not only a recap of the podcast, some other information, whether it's training, some articles, links to videos, and all of the discounts and partnerships we have. And we'll include this SUMARPO discount code as well. All right.
Excellent.
Next question here, and I like this question because I think that I know the answer. The person probably knows the answer as well, and that is Sarah. Needs some advice. She's very torn if she should sign up for her first half Ironman next year. She's a runner, mainly. She's done some long races and a half marathon recently. She's done a lot of sprints. She's an RN and works 4 to 5 days a week. I know it's possible if I set my mind to it. Just also know that it will be a lot of work to take on. And I still want time to enjoy activities with my friends and family. Any thoughts are appreciated. Thank you. My first take, she's going to sign up. She needs to sign up. She can do it because she's already confident that she can, even though she's got a busy schedule.
Yeah, I mean, I think she should. There's no harm except money, a monetary value, in signing up for an event. It gives you direction. It gives you a goal. It gives you focus. And then as you're preparing for it, if life gets in the way and you have to postpone it, defer it, not do it, that's okay too. I mean, it's no harm in not doing something that you originally committed to if life changes, because when it comes to endurance sports and putting in the training process, it's really important that it fits into your current lifestyle, and you shouldn't have to change the things you enjoy doing in your current lifestyle just to train for an event. You may have to modify some things a little bit, modify the time you put into other activities, especially like physical activities. If you do other sports, if you're going to introduce more of the swim, bike, run, multi-sport lifestyle into your training, but it's definitely doable. My husband's a nurse, so I understand the nursing schedule. Mm-hmm. Some nurses work 3 12-hour shifts. Some nurses work 3 days in a row. Some they do 1 day on, 1 day off. Some they do 2 days on, 2 days off. So it's a varied schedule. if she works 4 to 5 days a week, I suspect that she's working 8 to 10 hour days. And so it's just managing your time during your work days that maybe you can fit in a 30 to 60-minute workout before work. I know after work you're probably exhausted. And then try to, on your days off work, try to schedule those longer rides, because that's usually the accumulation of time. And it's not like you're doing this 12 months out of the year. So if you're going to train for a half Ironman, maybe your focus on it is anywhere between, 12, 16 up to 24 weeks. And you're not going to be doing, those 2, 3, 4 hour rides until you approach, that 8 to 12 weeks out. So it's just really getting a mindset of what the plan's going to look like. And again, it should fit in your lifestyle. You don't have to train like other people do.
So with that said, do you know who this girl is? Have you worked with her?
No.
Okay. So is it Sarah?
Yeah.
So, okay, Sarah, we've got a number of half Ironman training plans. We've got a beginner plan, which is 16 weeks, an advanced plan, which is you're not ready for that yet, which is 12 weeks, a couch triathlon 70.3 plan, 24 weeks. Now, she's done half marathons. She's done a number of sprints. Which of these plans would you suggest, and she can get these on Training Peaks, which of these would you suggest to her? Couch 2 or the beginner?
Yeah, I mean, that's a tough one. The beginner's 24 weeks. The couch 2 is 16 weeks. And the biggest difference is the beginner one just starts at a slower progression. Each training plan we have, we actually created a video, and we tell you what you should anticipate the first week. And so if you're not up to, a 90-minute ride, an hour run, and maybe a 1K swim the first week, then you shouldn't do the beginner plan. Start with the couch 2 plan so you can build up your volume before you get to 16 weeks out, because it starts 24 weeks out. And again, most of our plans are going to range anywhere starting at maybe 4 to 6 hours in the beginning and build up to 8 to 12 hours, depending on the plan, the last, the second half of each plan. So it'll just give you an idea of what your time commitment is in the beginning, and then how it progresses throughout the course of the number of weeks it is.
Yeah, on trainingpeaks.com, under Wendy's profile, you see all the plans, and under this couch to half Ironman training plan, which has the coaching videos, it shows here that at the end of 8 weeks, you should be comfortable running at a 5K or 10K event. At 16 weeks, you should be comfortable doing it at an Olympic, and so on. So it really is outlined here on what to expect, where you should be, and some bonuses there. So it's really well outlined before you even have to buy it.
Yeah.
Okay. There we go, Sarah. That should help you out, I think, quite a bit. Next one up here. This is from Mary. Mary needs help with bikes. She's 8 weeks out from her half, and she's starting to panic about making the bike cutoff. I'm struggling to get faster on the bike. I'm slow. I've not really significantly improved my bike speed during training, and I know I need to get the average up or risk getting DNF'd on the bike. What are some of your tips for getting faster on the bike? First part of your answer is going to be depends.
It really does depend. So for those who aren't sure, generally, I believe you have an hour and 10 minutes to complete 1.2 miles and a half. And then I think you have maybe 4.5 hours to complete the bike cutoff. And again, if you bank some time, let's say the swim only takes you 30 minutes, well, then you're going to have more time to use that leftover time for the bike before you get on the run. So, reasons that athletes could be slow on the bike, it could just be an equipment thing. How old's your bike? Is it a road bike? Is it a tri bike? Is it a mountain bike? Is it a gravel bike? And do you have aero bars on it, or are you riding a road frame without aero bars? Because the aero bars can make you faster. The position can make you faster. And, what kind of terrain are you riding on? Are you riding on really hilly terrain and not necessarily mindful that hills are going to make your overall average speed slower? And so, you want to consider those factors when it comes to speed. And, she is 8 weeks out. So this is the time in her training where she is going to get race specific intensity. And, you want to make sure you're following proper intensity zones based on your fitness. So you are making those adaptations and you're progressing forward with your training. Meaning, are you doing long rides, interval rides, hill rides, tempo rides, threshold rides? There's a lot of terminology in there, but it's important that you're following a progressive training plan with frequency, duration, and intensity to maximize your results and training at the proper intensity to get faster.
So here are your numbers. 5 hours and 30 minutes after the swim starts, you must make the cutoff. And the swim cutoff is an hour and 10 minutes, which means you have 4 hours and 20 minutes to make the bike cutoff if you were to take the full hour and 10 minutes. But you have 5.5 hours from the time the gun goes off or the time you begin the race, which means if you were to ride just under 13 miles per hour, you will make the cutoff. 12.92 is 4 hours and 20 minutes. So you're going to have to go at least 13 miles per hour if you took the whole hour and 10 minutes in the swim, which I don't know how hilly this course is for her, but that's a very doable speed to bike at basically almost any fitness level, don't you think, for Mary?
I think so. I mean, I just coached an athlete who did a triathlon. Her swim was a little bit slower than we anticipated, but she still made this. It wasn't an official a World Triathlon Corporation. It was a half Ironman, but it wasn't official WTC, but they had the same time cutoffs. Mm-hmm. So she was a little bit slower than we anticipated on the swim, and then the transition times, they add up.
Right. Yep.
And she took 4 hours and 25 minutes on the bike, which the bike had 4,500 feet of elevation gain. So
wow, what the
that
heck?
That was a decent bike for that amount of elevation gain.
Where was this?
This was in Donner Lake.
Oh my goodness, that's huge.
In Tahoe.
Oh, Tahoe. Okay.
Yeah, so that's a pretty big bike ride, especially for more of a beginner athlete. But that's where she lives. Mm-hmm. And then the run, because she just took a little longer on the swim, a little bit longer on the bike, but the bike was pretty close to what we thought. It was 2 loops of the run, and she ended up finishing, but she finished a few minutes over the overall time that she was allowed, which I think was 8 hours or 8.5 hours. And so she still finished. And so I wanted to throw that out there because, again, there's a lot of factors involved in how fast you're going to be on the bike. And at the same time, ultimately it's your race. Finish if you can. If for some reason you don't make the bike cutoff, then try to continue on as far as you can and do your own thing.
WTC is 8.5 hours, so that might be very similar for her half distance.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, Mary, hope that helps, and you can take some of those tips to work on your bike speed in the meantime, but also know those numbers and how you can juggle with your swim time transition and still have a whole 5.5 hours to get to the end of the bike.
Yeah. It's just a tough one to not know her current training plan for the half and her bike pedaling technique and what bike she's riding and is she training by effort, power, pace. There's just a lot of factors involved that you can't really answer directly how she personally should get faster other than the things I already described.
And here's the next transition to another topic of products that I reviewed. And this was something I bought on my own. It's a bit spendy, but it was well worth it and was inspired or motivated based on a car driving by me a little faster and too close for comfort a week and a half ago. So did I tell you this story already? I know I told Roger this story. Okay. So 2 weeks ago, I guess it might have been, or less than 2 weeks ago, I'm riding in the wind, aero position, 17 miles per hour, not a big deal, but and I was on a smooth road. These are just the factors. And I'm just on the far right side of the road, just going my business. I know where I am. And all of a sudden, truck comes by me, and I swear to God, I could have put my arm out, and the truck would have hit my arm. That's how close the guy was. Did not make any effort to go around me, stay the course, didn't change his speed. And I was like, are you effing kidding me? Mm-hmm. So I watched and watched. I know where this road goes, and I watched, and he kind of goes over a little hill down, and I know where this spot is, but I lost sight of him. So I'm about a mile from that spot where I lost sight of him. So I get down there, make this little corner, and I see that he's pulled off into this gravel parking lot next to a pizza place. So I loop back around because I'm still shaking my head. And I'm kind of like, I can't believe how close this guy came. It really ruined my day. It ruined my day. And so I pulled over and I said to him, the older guy, he's got to be 65 plus. He comes out like a little grin on his face. It's like he's, having a nice little Sunday stroll. His wife gets out of the side of the other door. It's just a white pickup truck with a canopy. And I said, "Excuse me, sir, did you just come down that road? Because I want to make sure that I'm talking to the right person," which I'm pretty sure I was. I said, you just come down the road? He goes, "Yeah." I said, "Did you see me when you drove down that road? You nearly hit me. You nearly hit me." He goes, and there's maybe one more sentence in between. "Did you see me? You drive down that road? Did you drive down that road? Did you see me?" Yeah. I said, Yeah. He said, "Yes, I saw you." And I go, "Do you realize how close you came to hitting me?" And he kind of like, "What?" I said, and he goes, "I didn't hit you, did I?" With a smile on his face, like kind of like, "I didn't hit you though. I didn't hit you though, did I? I didn't hit you, did I?" And I go, and I seriously, my mouth open, I'm shaking, my head, plus I'm also a little bit adrenaline going, and I usually stutter when I get excited, and so I go, I'm glad you didn't hit me. Thank God you didn't hit me for my wife and kids. I said, "Thank God. I'm glad you didn't hit me. Thank God for my wife and kids that you didn't hit me." And he didn't say anything else. He's kind of still whatever. I said, you gotta next time slow down or move around. And no comments. And I'm like, what the hell? And so I'm still like frazzled, and I kind of just ride off in the little gravel and get back on the road and go. And I only went for another couple miles, and I turned around because I was pissed. Came back, and I thought, because I'm frazzled. I took a picture of his license plate, and I made a little video for my own documentation. Just like, this just happened. No one's ever seen that. I just put in my own documentation. And I was like, oh my God. And I told a friend of mine, told Roger, and he goes, you got to get, I have a blinking light on the back of my bike on purpose for something like this. I already had one on the day. But this is just a blinking light, which I got earlier in the year because I saw someone riding and going, this is a good idea. So I told Roger that, and he goes, you got to get this other computer bike thing, and it was called a Fly 6 or a Fly 12, which I had an old version of, so I went online, looked at it, and then he goes, you should get the Garmin Varia, I forget how you pronounce it. It's a bicycle radar with camera, tail light, and continuous recording for vehicle detection. So I immediately bought this. It syncs with my Garmin 520 something, whatever the computer is that reads my power and all that stuff. It syncs with it, and on your Garmin readout computer, it has some sensors that show it detects. It syncs up Bluetooth. It shows a little dot of a car closing in on you, and it records it. So if you had an accident, yeah, buddy, I love you too. My son just randomly says these things. So I made a video on this to demonstrate how it works. But on your Garmin thing, there's a little dot in the bottom right-hand corner that kind of gets closer and closer to the upper right-hand corner of the screen, which is you. And it gets redder as a car approaches. So you don't have to look behind you. So you can look down and see this on your computer that a car is approaching. And I think it makes some beeping sounds too. And then it's green when the car passes you. So I bought this, got it a couple days ago, maybe 3-4 days ago, made a video on the day. And it's amazing, life-changing in terms of being aware of cars coming up behind you. Plus, it has a blinking light, and it records, and it notifies you without you having to look behind you. So the first couple times I saw this, I always usually put my arm out to let, hey, because I'm on country roads. Hey, I'm just up here. I know you're back there, a couple 50 yards, but I'm up here, and they usually go around. And this is awesome. So I made a video of it. It's a pretty good demonstration. It's a Garmin Varia RCT 715. It's on the YouTube channel, and I bought it. It's $340 or $50, and this was on sale for 16% off on Amazon. I wish I would have got this earlier in the year. I remember someone telling me about it. I thought, I don't want to. That seems expensive and unnecessary. Right. Because if I have a blinking light, people are going to see me. But this has that and the recording.
And here's the thing, like people could see you and then they could look down at their phone or something like that. So they may be aware that you're there and then they get a notification that they have a text or a phone call.
Yeah.
And then they pay attention to that, and they're not paying attention. Oh yeah, there's a rider right there.
I know I'm speaking to the choir here. Everyone who's listening knows what it's like to be on the road in a semi or a truck or a car. Doesn't change direction, doesn't change speed, and is right next to you. Mm-hmm. I was just so upset that the guy could have hit me, and his reaction of, "I didn't hit you though, did I?" It's like, are you seriously? That's what your reaction is. Not like, "I'm sorry, didn't realize I was that close. I'll slow down next time." Anything. Mm-hmm. And just like a casual day, he's gonna go to the restaurant, go to have a pizza with his wife.
Right.
Seriously, you are that unaware that I'm riding a 20-pound bicycle going 20 miles an hour, and you're going to go by me in your pickup truck. Oh, we've all had that. I was just extra pissed that day. And it's like, I don't care how much this could have been $1,000 camera. I would have bought it that day. I was so upset. Yeah.
Yeah. And just like, my question is, I would be speechless if that was the reaction someone gave me. I'd be like, I wouldn't even know what to say. I'd be like, I want to get away from this person.
Thank God for my wife and kids you didn't hit me. Those are my words. Thank God for my wife and kids that you didn't hit me. Because I wanted to put it in perspective that I'm not just a guy riding a bicycle. I'm a husband and a father, and I have a life, and I'm just a guy on a bicycle, and you're in a 3,000-pound vehicle going by me at 25, 35 miles per hour. I know, we've all been there. I'm just fired up. Okay. Anyways, see my video. It's on Amazon. I'm not sponsored by it. I just want to let you know this is a safety thing that goes beyond just the blinking light. It's a Garmin related product, so that's the only caveat, I guess.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Take a deep breath, Dave. All right.
No, thanks for sharing your story, because it's just going to help others potentially get this product, or just be, again, more aware of what's going on around them.
Here's something that's Winnie can absolutely speak of. This is Andres again. Andres, am I saying his name right? Andres.
Yeah.
Would substituting a trail run for my long run benefit my training? Because he's currently training for a 70.3. So substituting a trail run for his long run benefit training? I gotta say yes.
Well, yeah, but let's talk about what a long run is. A long run is your longest run of the week. If you're training for 70.3 or an Ironman, your long run is going to be maybe 90 minutes to 2.5 hours, up to 3 hours. So when you're doing a long run, you can do it on the trail or do it on the road. Just take into account that most trails that I run on are hilly, so there's elevation, and my pace is slower. So in a 90-minute trail run, I may get 8 miles versus a 90-minute road run where I might get 10 or 11 miles. And I think when you're just starting to develop, build up long run distance or time, doing them on the trails is actually better for you than doing them on the road. Getting on soft surface, when you're on soft surface, it's just better for your body and longevity in the sport, less injuries. And then usually, again, like I said, trails usually have a lot more elevation gain or loss than your typical road run will. And so you can work on technique, driving your knees forward on the uphills, bringing your heel up to butt on the downhills. You work on your endurance and strength. You could also do threshold, speed, and tempo workouts on the trails if you train by effort or heart rate. So you can get it up to a certain effort, or if you know what your tempo, threshold, and speed heart rate is, you can do that on the trails, whether it's a hill, a downhill, or a flat part. So yes, I'm going to say everyone should trail run stay off the road.
You know how much harder a trail run is than just a straight run on the road. Xterra versus triathlon, road triathlon, right then and there.
Right.
An Xterra Olympic distance takes them almost the same time as a half Ironman, just because of the terrain. My only Xterra, I've done 3 off-road Xterra triathlons, and the biggest one was just as taxing as any half Ironman I've done. Mm-hmm. Just it's harder, especially if it's in Maui.
Yeah, and just a long run normally, generally, for most people, depending on the phase of training you're in, a long run. The purpose of a long run is to develop strength, endurance, and resilience in your legs. So whether you do it on the road or on the trail, vary it and change things up a little bit. but you're not necessarily substituting the long run in for a trail run. You're just taking the time you would be running on the road, you take it to the trail.
One last question, I think, based on time here. This is from Derek. I'm not sure what he's asking for here. What are essential bike accessories for racing? He's 14 weeks out from his first Ironman and wants to dial in his bike. Essential bike accessories for racing, Wendy.
Well, I'm definitely not a gear geek. I never have been. So when it comes to racing, a triathlon, obviously you need a bike. A bike and a helmet and generally shoes, unless you're going to wear the running shoes and you don't have certain pedals and cleat or certain shoes and cleats that you need. But for the most part, you need a bike, a helmet, shoes to race in. You know, what are some other things that are going to help you? Possibly an aero helmet instead of a regular helmet, possibly racing wheels. For me, I only use racing wheels when I'm getting ready for my most important race of the year. Otherwise, I will race on my regular wheels that I train on. So it's not necessarily an essential. I think having a Garmin or some sort of bike computer is one of my essentials. I like to know how long I've been out there. I like to know my distance. I like to know my speed. But you can still ride a bike like I used to do back in the day without a bike computer. And then just most people also will have certain water bottle cages. We've already talked about this on other podcasts, whether you have an aero bottle cage or on the down tube or a rear bottle cage. That's an essential to have some sort of thing on your bike that's going to help carry your fluid. Something that's also optional is maybe you've heard of a bento box, which is something you put on your top tube that I like to carry food or an extra tube, an extra CO2 cartridge, which brings me to, yes, I think having a kit on your bike, a bike bag full of the essential tools you need so you can fix your own flat tire if you get out there. I think that's definitely an essential thing you need. So I'm just thinking he was asking about what does he need race day on his bike to make the most gains.
Okay. Now
what do you think?
The way you said it, when you started going down that list of these extra things, I don't know how essential, but some of these things are beneficial or bonuses to have. Some of them are super helpful to have. If whether it's the bike computer, the helmet, I can see is not essential, but it's a little bonus to have an aero helmet, which can help, or depends on how much time you're looking to shave off based on your fitness level and how good you are. But the bento box,
and how much money you want to spend.
Yeah.
You don't need a power meter, but if you're going to race with a power meter, hopefully you've been training with a power meter.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I've heard in the past that if you're going to invest in something, it's going to be the wheel set. If you're going to invest in your bike for speed, it's going to be the wheel set for a race, not so much helmet. I mean, you've seen helmets all over the board on styles, and people are still going to ride a certain way if their body position is correct. Your body position is terrible, it doesn't matter what kind of helmet you're wearing. But if you got good wheels and you got a little bit of wind, that could be a helpful thing. But I think that having that flat kit, that's important. As a couple of flat tubes and CO2s of some kind. Yeah, I think you nailed it. You got it. Oh, we'll be talking about this in the weeks to come. 7-8 weeks ago, June 6th, I think it was, I ordered a cold plunge. Have you heard of these things?
No, just you told me about it.
Okay, a revolutionary cold plunge ice bath. Apparently this was on Shark Tank. I didn't know it was on Shark Tank, and I was looking into these things anyway, or at least some sort of cold bath process of, ice baths, post recovery and something like that. So I looked into it. Came across this cold plunge thing, and I guess it circulates the water, which makes it a little different, and it keeps it colder. And anyhow, I ordered one 7 weeks ago, and I just got the email. What was it? During the podcast that says my order is finally leaving the warehouse. I was told 8 to 10 weeks. That's how, because I bought it, almost 7 weeks ago or so. So it's leaving the warehouse. It's going to come over here. I'm going to do a weekly video trying to see how long I can sit in one of these things and how cold I can get and learn about it as much as possible.
Nice.
But it's going to be something that I also have a discount code for. that because I'm a customer of one of these things, you can, kind of help other people. Hey, you bought one of these, tell your friends, and they can get a discount on it. So cool. When I get one of these, I'll tell you more about it, and I'll make videos and put it on the YouTube channel. So any questions you have, I'm gonna see how long it can last. Apparently, these ice baths are really cold, and people can, 30 seconds, 1 minute, you kind of build yourself up. So as I learn,
I'm excited to see it.
Me too. It's just a big bathtub. It's like a big, nice bathtub, but I guess it circulates the water, makes it colder, and for the recovery, I got this because I wanted to make sure that I'm as best possible shape for Ironman Arizona in 3.5, 4 months. That's the goal. That's the reason why I got this thing. And what else? I wanted to tell you about. I got a new bike last weekend, a new road bike out of Portland, Oregon. A friend of mine who owns this place called West End Bikes. If you're ever in Portland, Oregon, ask for Joe. He's the best. I went to high school with him. Joe, cool guy. He's only a year older than I am, so he's 51, 52. He's been cycling since high school. He's the guy back in the 80s who was shaving his legs, which we thought was weird back in high school. And he's been racing bikes ever since. And he's a part owner of this place called West End Bikes, right in the heart of downtown Portland, and helped me get a Orbea road bike, an M30. I don't know much about Orbeas besides we're the same size. Him and I, we're both 6 feet tall. And I said, I got you a size 55, which is, will fit you. Got me all hooked up. Got disc brakes. And I did a little maiden bike ride there in Portland, and I've ridden it since here at home, and I love it. It's fun to have more than one bike. I've always just had a tri-bike for 15 years. I had a tri-bike, so I finally got a road bike. So Dave's pretty excited.
Nice.
I got my computers. I got my bicycles. I'm getting a cold plunge here in a week. So, and Wendy's preparing for the Ironman World Championship. Oh, yeah, by the way, Ironman World Championship. Wendy, you got the email today. Share the news.
Yeah, I just got the email a few minutes before we started the podcast that they're already planning for the 2023 Ironman World Championship as a 2-day event, October 14th and October 16th.
12th and 14th.
12th and 14th. So they're going to do the women's on one day, the men's on one day, which I'm a little surprised. I thought they would wait and see how the 2022 split went this year, but they're already planning for 2023, which means they're opening up more slots for people to qualify since they're splitting up the men's and the women's field.
Yeah.
And this is something I never knew they did, but they already have 2023 race slot allocation. So you can go and see which races are offering, how many slots they're offering at that race. I don't know. I've never paid attention to that much, but they have the whole 2023 race slot allocation planned out already.
Oh, so normally you'd be able to see, let's say you sign up for a race, you can see how many, there will be 50 qualifying slots, right?
Yeah.
Normally you see that.
I don't normally see that, but now you can.
Okay. Wow, yeah, it's pretty exciting. So, one day is going to be men, one day is going to be women. It's 2 days divided by a day to rest or get prepared for. So, yeah, more people can race, more men and more women, and you have your own day.
And they're keeping it in Hawaii because there was talk earlier this year when they had the 2021 World Championships in St. George. Mm-hmm. There was talk that they may rotate the 140.6 World Championship, to different locations like they do the 70.3 Championship. But apparently they decided they know for sure the 2023 Ironman World Championship is going to be in Hawaii. And based on the email, it sounds like that's where it's meant to be and that's where it's going to be for, future years to come.
Sweet.
And then there also in that email was talking about the 2023 70.3 World Championships in Finland.
Yes.
Which I am registered for because I deferred my 2021 World Champion 70.3 World Championship. I deferred that, and my only option for deferral was 2023 in Finland. So I'm like, well, I might as well defer it and just have a slot there. I'm not sure if I'm going to go or not. And I say that I'm not sure yet because an athlete I coach, he's racing in Maine, 70.3 this weekend in Augusta, Maine, and his goal is to qualify. Oh. So I made a comment, oh, well, if you qualify, maybe you'll have to bring your coach because I've already qualified.
Nice.
So, yeah, that'll be fun.
Wow. That's a good way to cap off the podcast, 366. So that's pretty cool. Lots of things to talk about today. A lot of great questions and hopefully some benefits to you on what we shared and also some discount codes. Sign up for the newsletter. Those discounts will be there and future discounts as well. With that, thanks, Wendy. Have a great week of training, everybody. Whether it's racing, recovery, or training. I got that messed up, didn't I? Thanks for listening. For Wendy Mader, I'm Dave Erickson. Have a great week of training, racing, and recovery. That's how it goes. We'll see you next time. Adios.
Adios.